in this lesson, we'll talk about extracting maps from our geometry so that they can be usable in other applications. So when we finish our projects here in Mudbox, they're going to probably be in the millions of polygons, and that's something that we just can't use in other applications typically. So what normally will happen is that you will extract the detail, sculpt the detail in the form of different kinds of maps that you can then reapply in other applications, and they'll understand how to interpret those, and they'll be able to render that detail so that you can get the same look on a much lower resolution model. So in this case, we'll use our crab creature as an example. This is lesson 08 start if you're a subscriber. And so to get those maps out, we'll concentrate here on the body. What we want to do is, so get the map off this body, we'll go up to Maps and Extract Texture Maps, and we'll create a new extraction operation. Okay, and we can name this something if we want to be able to reuse it later, but you can see we have a number of different options here. We can transfer our paint layers to other models. We can create an ambient occlusion map, a vector displacement. We'll concentrate here on these last two. These are probably the most common, the displacement map and a normal map. So a displacement map is a sort of black and white map that's going to allow us to, at render time, render that detail, all of the sculpted and raised detail. A normal map is going to be something where we'll be able to see that in real time in something like a game engine where we'll be able to view that. So let's go ahead and see what those look like. So we'll create a displacement map and a normal map. And under displacement, we can go ahead and take a look at this. Let's try to squeeze it down so we can see everything here. So we've got the displacement map operation selected. This is giving you an indication of what exactly we are going to be doing. The target is going to be the low resolution mesh, which in this case is going to be our lowest level of this particular mesh. So it's going to be the body. We'll say add selected. That's going to add this body to our target model window here. You can see that right now it's set to level 0. If we wanted to have the target be a different level, we could go ahead and set that in here. Right now we're sitting at level 2. Let's say we want to make that our current level. We could go ahead and choose that. It's going to calculate that based on this particular level. Okay. Now we want to choose a source, and that's going to be our high resolution mesh, as it says here. That's where we have all of the sculpted detail we've created. So in this case, this happens to be the body, so we'll add selected, and we want to choose the highest level, which in this case is level 6. So what's basically going to do is take the level 2 body, look at all the detail on level 1, and transfer that into a map that we can apply to our level 2 body and still make it look a lot like the level 6 body. Okay, the method that it's going to use to do that is either going to be ray casting or subdivision. Now in this case, we've got different levels of the same model, so we can actually use subdivision and go a little bit quicker. Ray casting is going to send rays out and look at the detail to decide how to do that. And you can see there's a search distance here and some other options. We can just select subdivision and make that a little bit quicker. We can choose the image size, so we'll just make that 1K just so it's a little bit quicker. We can alias it or not. Okay, and then we can choose a file name. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here and decide where we're going to put this. So we'll go ahead and go into our project files, and I'm just going to go into an images directory and go ahead and make this crab displace. Okay, we'll go ahead and save that. So we've got the base file name in here. We can also preview this once we're done as a bump map on our character. Okay, now let's go into normal map. Okay, and we'll look at both of these in just a second when we actually create those. But we can do all of these at the same time. Now normal map is going to be this, what you've probably seen here, this sort of blue with some purple in it image, and this is going to allow us to view this in real time. And so to create a normal map, we want to just do the same thing. So you can see our options actually remain the same in here for our normal map. And see we've got the body target is body level 2, source is body level 6. We've got the same type of method that we can use. Now we have a compatibility option here. We can use Maya-Soft compatibility or 3ds Max. We can, for the coordinate space, we'll just use tangent. Okay, and then again we can choose a file name. So we'll go ahead back in here. Okay, we can choose a file type again that we want to. Maybe this one will make a bitmap, and output our normal. Okay, and so if you have a number of different maps that you want to extract all at once, you can check all of these in here to create those. Okay, So now once we've got that all set, let's go ahead and extract. So now it's going to go through that process of extracting those maps, and you can see that we've output our 2 maps. Say OK to that. And now let's go into our image browser. So jump into our image browser, we'll navigate to the file or the folder that has our images in it that we just output. And so here you can see, working with some limited screen space here, but we'll try to look at this. This is our displacement map. So you can see a lot of the detail. This is kind of the difference between level 2 and level 6. So we could apply this to our level 2 model and be able to see that detail coming out. So you can kind of see that here. Okay, so this is something that we could apply in Maya or Soft and so forth, so that we could get kind of reproduce that high-res image in our render while we're still working with something that's very low resolution. If we take a look at our normal map, you can see it looks much the same. You get a lot of that detail in here, and this is something that we could view in real time in our viewport. Have that applied to our model and be able to see a lot of that detail. So rather than carry all of this high resolution detail in our actual geometry, we're carrying it in a much lighter texture map that we can apply. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Now to get our geometry out, there are a number of ways that we can do this. We could send it over to our whatever application that we're using. We could also export it. So if we say export selection, this will just bring up a window where we can export an FBX or an OBJ or a .mud file. Okay, so if we want to export that out, we can do that there. All right, now as far as the paint layers go, if we go into our paint layers, you can see that we have a number of different layers here. So let's say our color. To get this out, all we have to do is right click on this and go to export selected. We'll navigate to our images folder. Again, choose a format, and then we can call this something meaningful. Go ahead and save that out. If we go back to our image browser, now we have that texture file here. Okay, so you can see that this is that paint layer that we just exported. Okay, so it's real simple. Just right click to export our paint layers. We can also choose to export all our paint layers together. So if we have a number of different paint layers, we can export all of those. Okay, and then you would have those color maps, the specular map, the incandescent map in this case, along with your displacement and normal maps, and then you'd reassemble those in whatever application that you happen to be using. Or it's much easier if you actually use the integration that's set here, send to Maya, send to 3ds Max, send to Softimage, which we'll talk about more in a little bit. Okay, so a very important concept, the fact that we want to get our high resolution detail out in most cases as a displacement or a normal map. There are also other types of maps that we can create, ambient occlusion, vector displacement. But the idea is that we can reproduce the high resolution sculpted detail and color using those maps. And then we can also output the paint layers as texture maps as well to reassemble. Okay, so the next thing that we'll talk about as we wrap up our look at Mudbox in the next couple lessons, the next thing we'll talk about is posing our model. So we do have the ability to use some simple joints and weighting to pose our models in different ways so that we can get a different look. They don't all have to be in default pose. We can actually create different poses as well. So we will take a look at that in the next lesson.